Hi everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are watching the review for Married at First Sight Season 7, Episode 5. So, last night's episode was major. I thought this season, to be honest, based off the first couple episodes, was going to be a little boring, but last night proved us to be wrong. So let's just jump right into it. Last night's episode was part 2 of the honeymoon, and of course we know that Mia and Tristan did not go on that honeymoon, and we'll touch on that in a second. I'm gonna kick it off with Danielle and Bobby, because Danielle and Bobby right now, there isn't much going on with them. When I do these reviews, I literally just turn the camera on and just start talking based off of memory, so I don't like do any notes. But what I'm finding is that each week so far, they're not very memorable. And I think maybe in the future we'll see some depth from them as, life brings it challenges and they learn more about each other and they open up more. The only thing that stuck out last night was that they consummated their marriage, which is, yes, it's a big deal. That's great. They're obviously very comfortable with each other, very into each other. That didn't even come out until like the very tail end of the episode. Throughout the episode, we just saw them kind of, have a romantic time in the bath. They had dinner with Dave and Amber. They are very they're kind of coasting along. There isn't much to them right now, so I'm not gonna waste too much time talking about them. They consummated marriage, good for them, and we'll see how they develop. Moving on, Dave and Amber. Dave and Amber last night were very shocking to me. And that couple is kind of concerning for me. I didn't have an opinion one way or another with them because I was still feeling them out. But right now I don't have good vibes for them, and I might be future tripping right now, but I'm thinking that if they do last to decision day, they probably won't be together much longer. So we find several hiccups. They're continuing to enjoy the honeymoon. I watched Unfiltered, which is that show 30 minutes right before the episode, and Dave was on there, and the host was asking, knowing what you know about Amber now and what you've experienced together, would you still say, had you known it was going to be her, based on the fact that she dated this loudmouth guy who he probably knows way more information than he wants to about his wife, and I totally get it, would you still do this experiment? And he said no, adamantly. Despite knowing her, despite, them being together and him caring for her, he still would have not done it. Which leads me to believe that he's not going to be very forgiving. And I think when they go back home and they're no longer in the honeymoon state, that situation is going to rear its ugly head, and it's going to bring some challenges again, because it's at the local gym. They've been going there for a while. He's known this guy there for a while. And so it's going to be very uncomfortable. But I think, he said adamantly that, this is a situation that he would have never chosen. So he's still struggling with it. He's kind of just working through it. But I think it's less working through it and more just trying to get over it. And in a sense, that's a good plan, because you can't change anything. You just kind of have to deal with things as they come. However, I don't get the feeling of forgiveness from him, which will show itself in various aspects of a relationship, various aspects of a marriage. One time I heard a sermon many years ago, and the pastor said a good marriage is comprised of 2 great forgivers and 2 servants, because each person is looking to serve the other person. And when you're looking to serve and make the other person happy, within reason, then you guys are always in a state of giving, and therefore you'll be receiving. So I don't see that happening with Dave and Amber. And we saw Dave kind of let, another side out of him come, which we knew. We all have different facets of our personality, but we've been saying for a couple of weeks now, Amber's the one with the issues, and Amber had, she's intense and she's baby crazy and she has all these things, and Dave seems to be more easygoing, which that's how he's been presenting himself. However, last night during a salsa dancing, he got really upset, and I think he expressed himself inappropriately. I know that people can express themselves however they like, but I definitely think that there are appropriate ways to express yourself. And he got really frustrated with the dancing. He didn't want to do it. And towards the end, he kind of gave up. He didn't curse at her, but he was just like, F it, I'm done. You guys got this. And you can tell that she was still trying. She was still trying to be motivated. He was like sweating bullets. You could tell he was very uncomfortable, but he just really went about it the wrong way. And, that was concerning for her. She said, look how he's kind of responding to this. This is concerning for me. And she still pushed through it. And, they kind of wrapped it in the bow. He said, I'm so glad that she has my back and she motivates me to be better. And she was more focused on how I was feeling rather than it ruining her time. But I think she was focused on a little bit of both. I'm thinking she's thinking, okay, let me support him. This isn't comfortable for him. He's kind of just been going through this whole thing for the last hour or however long it lasted. Let me make sure he's good. But on the flip side, like, it's salsa dancing, like how upset do you get when you have to salsa dance? Like, it's lending itself to more of how he deals with things when he's not comfortable with them. Guess what, guys? Marriage is not always a comfortable situation. So that is a little concerning for me. And at the beginning of their salsa lesson, in the confessional, he was talking about, because it's on a loop when they ask these contestants, why did you want to get married at first sight? And so throughout the season, you'll hear the reason why I wanted to get married at first sight, and then ... or whatever, whomever is saying whatever. And so Dave says, the reason I wanted to get married at first sight is to, have a partner in life, to challenge me, to motivate me, to do new things with. So I literally was like, the irony, because you don't want to do this. So you want to be challenged and motivated and do new things that you want to do. Like, that's an oxymoron. Like, the challenge comes from maybe a situation that isn't so becoming or a situation that isn't so comfortable, that she motivates you to do better and to try something new or challenge yourself in that way. So, be careful what you ask for. If you're asking for an adventurous partner because it sounds good, but you don't really like to do adventure, don't ask for that, because when it comes, you're going to have to deal with that, and you're going to have a good attitude about it. It's not about doing what you want to do when you want to do it. So that's what I would say to Dave. Like, if you want to be challenged, here it is. And big F for me, you failed because you did not handle it appropriately. I would have been okay with him, getting to a point where he's like, you guys, I've tried. I'm really having an awful time, or you know what, let's just do one more dance and then I'm done. Like, you can clean it up, you can wrap it up with a bow. I've been on a trip where, my husband wants to go hike across the continent, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've gotten this far and I'll meet you when you come back down, because like, this is it for me. It's okay. It's really how you want to do it, how you express yourself, because how you do some things is how you do all things. So this is lending itself to maybe how he would have done things in a different situation, and that will affect their marriage overall. Another thing that I noticed with Dave last night is when they called, both the guys and the girls called each person, Mia and Tristan, and we'll talk about that in a second. But when Tristan was talking to Dave about, what happened briefly, Dave was saying, man, I wouldn't stick around for that. Kind of like, in low-key, like, you're a better guy than me, because I would be, he even said, like, 2 days after this, I would be just looking for an annulment, lawyer. So, to each their own. Everybody's allowed to make their choices, but Dave is kind of, this is now the second time where we've seen, this is kind of like, he's kind of quick to dismiss. Don't get married if you just are going to say, well, this is not going to work and this is not going to work very quickly, because it doesn't work that way. So I get that it not being the best situation, but how you deal with it is everything. Also, Dave and Amber, because they had a jam-packed episode last night, they were talking about religion at the table. So they were having dinner after this shit show of a salsa lesson, and they're talking about religion. And so we find that Amber is not very religious. She kind of, is spiritual. She believes in something, but she's not lending herself to one religion. Dave is very religious. However, they flash back to when he's talking to the experts before he got chosen, and they flash back to him discussing it in a very casual way. Because initially when we saw that conversation, me and my husband were like, wait a minute, why would they match them together? But when they flashed it back, he was like, I don't, very easygoing. Like, I don't want somebody who's too extreme, but someone who is an atheist. Okay, well, I'm a faith-based person. So if that were me, I'd be like, no, this person has to believe in XYZ, or this is what I represent, and I want somebody to match that. You have to really, really be strong about that. So he shot himself in the foot with that because he just wasn't honest enough. He wasn't authentic enough. Because if you sway and you're very casual about like, oh, okay, well, this person can believe in whatever, and now you're matched up with that person, you can't expect them to change, especially something so major like that. It's like a life thing. It's a thinking thing. It's not something that is, it's a belief, it's a moral system, it's a compass for most people. And so it's not something that you can expect your wife to change. And although he's saying, I don't expect you to change, because she said, I hope you don't expect me to change, I think he does expect her to change. And I think that, they will have issues over that, especially since if they're really talking about this baby chain, well, how are you going to raise your children? A lot of people center a lot of the way they raise their children within that moral compass. So that was also something that was concerning for me, because dun dun dun, he says, well, I don't know, he says something along the lines of, this may not work out, since she's like very opposite in that way with him. So once again, this is like the second or third time that it may not work out. Like, that really irritated me, because you can't just sign up for this and then the moment that it doesn't work out, that is like your go-to. That just lets me know that your coping skills are piss poor and that everything scares you and you're not really ready. And the irony is, he says that, he wouldn't put up with what, Tristan's putting up with, because Tristan's like completely on the opposite, where he's willing to do whatever to make it work. But I don't think, Dave is really as ready for marriage as he thought, because there's these hiccups coming up, and I don't think he's dealing with it as effectively. So I wish they could, pull him aside and say, stop getting in your own way. Like, let things develop and, take ownership of, okay, maybe I didn't present myself in the most authentic way. So we will see. When that episode ended, I was like, I don't know how I feel about them, but I don't know the entirety of how I feel, but right now it's not good. So we will see, but we've definitely got a lot of depth from them. So I'm glad to see that and see how they kind of go on in the future. So that is Amber and Dave. Last but certainly not least, we have Mia and Tristan. So Mia and Tristan never went on this honeymoon, okay? They missed the honeymoon. They finished their honeymoon downtown Dallas, and I'm really thinking, like, are you probably really still not even allowed to go out of the country? Like, at first I was like, oh, maybe they could do a day in Cancun, but then I'm thinking, like, she's probably still not allowed to go out of the country, because nothing feels real on her end. Nothing feels real. Like, she gives me liar all day, and I'm really not trying to go in on her, but she just gives me so much ammo. First of all, I'll start from the beginning. First of all, they are not a super physical chemistry type of couple. We have not seen that. So from jump with this running into his arms when he opened the hotel room last week, that bothered me a little bit. I know I didn't talk about it, but I'll talk about it now. It bothered me a little bit because I feel like she knows that he's into her, and because there's this huge elephant in the room, she wasn't really ready to deal with it. And so she runs into his arms as like a way to like distract him. And we women can do that because men are physical, right? So if I wanted to distract you, all I have to do is, do whatever, any type of touch works. And so I feel like she knows that, whether it's conscious or not, she knows that, and it disarms him. And he's just so happy to be in this situation that he's really, it worked. Like, he was, he put the paper away with all this information, and just like, it is what it is, even though it didn't add up and there was no real explanation, it is what it is. So they spend their time continuing with their honeymoon. One of the girls, excuse me guys, one of the girls calls Mia to see, okay, what's going on? Where are you? She spoke in circles and never got to the point, and she never shared it. And I would have just respected more if she would have said, you know what, there's a lot going on. Next time I meet with you guys, I promise I'll share. I can't really talk about it. Be honest. you don't, being honest doesn't mean you have to share information. It just means you have to be honest. So she didn't do that. She kind of just talked in circles to where nobody really knew what was going on. And on the flip side, when Dave called Tristan in the car, Tristan just basically said, listen, she got arrested. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And so like, it's very concerning to me that even after all of this stuff has come out, there's still this need to like clean it up, which I knew would happen because there was really no explanation. And even no, I don't know him, or I know of him, like, give me a break. So that was one. They continue this whole thing, they meet with the experts, and you can tell the experts are like really concerned because, how did this happen? What's really going on? This is not only reflective of them, it's reflective of the network, it's reflective of the producers. And so I do believe they do their best. In 7 seasons or 6 seasons, this has never happened. So I do believe that they do their best, and something came of it. So she's kind of just riding the wave, and she's extremely emotional, and she talks to Dr. Jessica about what happened, and even that moment was hard for her to get to. I think that when you get to a certain point, you just need to be honest, because people respect honesty, and no matter what, so eventually she got to that. But my question is now, okay, now when you do it too much or you're inauthentic, now it's not that you shared it, it's like, what else are you not sharing? Which is exactly how Tristan feels. So Tristan, we find him somewhat frustrated. He's keeping it together, but we find him somewhat frustrated. And then later on in the episode, it all comes out. So she, I guess in the middle of the night, tells him everything, that she dated this guy shortly and all this stuff. And so he now knows more of the story, but he feels like he doesn't know all of the story. And I don't believe that he does, because I dated this guy for a short amount of time, and this is what happened. I feel like she is saying just enough to make it make sense, to take some ownership, but I don't think that she's taking all ownership. Her body language in her confessionals and when she was talking to the experts, to me, just still gives a very guarded nature, a very inauthentic nature. And she's giving me someone who's extremely insecure. And I've said this before, but last night she said something while she was talking to Tristan. She said, I just want you to love me. And I was like, whoa, like, or be in love with me, something like that. And I get, no, I don't get it. I was going to say I get it, but if she would have said something like, I just really want us to work through this, or want you to give me a chance to show you who I am, then I would be okay with it. But this is giving me all types of Fatal Attraction vibes, which are just, where's the scary music? Where's the like knife in this video for that? Like, I don't get what's going on with her. And I feel like she's probably had a lot of issues in past relationships, and they're all showing up right now. This unhealthy, quick attachment is concerning for me. And he's also concerning me too, because he has this unhealthy, quick attachment. I don't know what it's about. He doesn't want to see her in the way that she really is. So he's fighting against, I think, what's like his gut and his instinct versus what he has been presented in one day, because the rest of the days sucked, and what he wants to see because he so badly wants it. And he's getting very emotional, and he tells Pastor Cal that he loves her. And I was just trying to not watch it like judgmentally, but I just didn't understand where the love came from. And people can love when they want and how they want and as quickly as they want, but for me, I just don't buy in personally. Now, this is my personal opinion. I don't buy into love in 4 days, especially when 3 of them were spent in jail, or 2 of them, sorry. So like, when did this happen? When did this connection, to call it love, happen? So I almost understand hers, her unhealthy, attachments a little bit more, because I can see that she's just had a dysfunctional nature. So it makes sense. It's like she's on dysfunctional lane and she's making a U-turn and she's still on dysfunctional. That's where she is. Okay, fine. We can work with that. But Tristan is now concerning me, because where is this coming from? Because really, if we looked at it very black and white, you haven't been really presented anything that you asked for. So that's Mia and Tristan. I mean, they close it up. They meet with the experts. They make a joke, which I missed, but they were laughing at the end because I was too busy, you know, yelling at the TV in awe that this is how it ends. And we'll see. I really don't know. If I met with her, you know, I kind of start off very relaxed, but as I build a rapport, you know, I'm a little more honest. And people have different styles about how they, you know, counsel people, but if you're watching this, well, it's too late, but I would beg you to just lay it all on the table. If you like just open your suitcase and throw the stuff on there, people can deal with that. It's overwhelming because it's like, oh, this big mess. But now I see that my eyes adjust, my emotions adjust, my minds adjust to this mess. But when you're taking stuff little by little, and I just picked it up and now I come back and there's something else out of your suitcase, like this is a clown car at this point. Like how many people are going to come out? How many things are going to come out? So that's for everyone. Like if you do it, just do it. Just say you did it, because then we can just deal with it, and now your character is not brought into question. It's just kind of like if you find somebody who wants to rock with you and loves you and wants to work towards something, you'll do that versus bringing other things into play that require much more time than just dealing with the situation. You know, regaining trust or building trust requires much more time than dealing with something when you're authentic about it. And Tristan even says it, you know, the trust is broken. So, you know, we'll see how they work out. I'm always going to send people good vibes because I love to see people win, especially in love, but we definitely have to be honest in how we go about that. Otherwise, we're building something on, you know, very, very, you know, shaky foundation, and it won't last. So that's it. I am going to see how it works out next week. I'm really interested to see, like, when they get back from the honeymoon and they really start getting into day-to-day lives, how things work out. So that's it. If you liked it, comment, subscribe. Can't wait to chat with you guys about this one, and I will see you next week.